Hello, everyone. My name is Karis Kleckner, and today I'll be discussing the topic of racism in my chosen future field of academic advising. This presentation is a part of my work at the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College at Arizona State, but specifically for the TEL 208 course, Literacy in a Changing World. We'll be exploring various aspects of racism in academic advising, including but not limited to understanding racism, the role of academic advisors, and also we'll touch on some critical race theory, as well as strategies for creating inclusive environments no matter what field you go into. So, I have the workshop goals and the workshop objectives. So, the goal of this workshop is to deepen our understanding of racism in any academic or work setting. Particularly for this one, though, we're covering academic advisors. We'll explore some critical race theory strategies for creating inclusive environments and anti-racist advising practices. Additionally, we'll discuss how to advocate for institutional change, engage in professional development, support students of color, and collaborate with your colleagues on all of these changes. By the end of this workshop, you'll have the actionable strategies to implement anti-racist advising practice and advocate for an institutional change. So, to learn, I have understanding racism in academic settings, the role of academic advisors, critical race theory, creating inclusive environments, and how to learn advising strategies, and to do is going to be implement anti-racist advising practices, advocate for an institutional change, engage in personal development, support students of color, and like I mentioned, collaborating with colleagues on this overall workshop and how to understand it all within the end. So, before we start getting into the specifics, let's just do a general literacy overview. Literacy is essential for personal empowerment and societal participation. As Gingrich and Robinson stated, literacy is not a luxury, it is a right and a responsibility. Without literacy, individuals are often excluded from opportunities from personal and professional growth, perpetuating cycles of poverty and inequality. Frederick Douglass also emphasized the transformative powers of education and literacy by stating, education means emancipation, it means light and liberty. Literacy also allows individuals to break free from ignorance and oppression, leading to personal and societal liberation. So, hearing all of this, let's consider how literacy impacts our daily lives and the broader implication for society. Not just in your own daily life, but like with also your entire society around you and your community. Think about how literacy impacts everyone's daily life, everyone's implications for our society. Next, we're going to cover racism connected to critical literacy. And this is part one. There is going to be a continued part to this slide. So critical literacy encourages us to examine whose voices are amplified and also whose are silenced, especially in academic advising. Often, the voices of students of color are silenced or overlooked, while dominant narratives, prominently white institutions, prevail. This imbalance can perpetuate racism and hinder the academic success of marginalized students. So, some examples of how this manifests in academic settings and how it may impact the life of students. Sometimes in white prevailing institutions, students in minorities can get overthrown or overshadowed by those in the prevailing white community. And I think this stems from, it can be anything from own personal beliefs to beliefs that they're grown into. But at the end of the day, in any academic setting, this can really silence the voice of those minorities. So I do have a quote here that says how the imbalance can perpetuate racism and hinder the academic success of marginalized students. And then I have another one in the underlying messages section that says, advising practices that assume a one size fits all approach can inadvertently marginalize students from diverse backgrounds, like we just mentioned. That whole sometimes one size fits all doesn't really touch on every single student, and sometimes it's important to open the doors and think outside the box, not just always thinking about a one size fits all approach. The continued slide to racism connected to critical literacy. Critical literacy involves uncovering the underlying messages in texts and practices. In academic advising, it's essential to recognize how advising materials, policies, and interactions may implicitly convey bias or reinforce stereotypes. For example, like we just mentioned, a one size fits all approach can inadvertently marginalize students from diverse backgrounds. As well as that, by questioning and exploring secondary meanings, academic advisors can better understand the broader implication of their advising practices. So, this involves critically analyzing text and interactions to identify hidden biases um, and unwanted power dynamics. For instance, examining the language used in advising materials can reveal subtle forms of discrimination that can impact the students. Sorry, this can impact the student's sense of belonging and overall academic performance. Next, we have digital and media literacy and its connection to racism. So, digital and media literacy are crucial in addressing racism within academic advising. So, digital literacy helps advisors critically assess digital content, while media literacy enables them to recognize and challenge bias in the media representation of students of color. Integrating these literacies into advising practices is essential for fairness and inclusivity. And I have a quote here that states digital literacy is overall defined as the ability to use information and communication technologies to help find, evaluate, create, and communicate information. And we talked about it earlier within this session, but a lot of hidden bias can be shown within news articles, within any social media you find. So I think really combing through that, like I mentioned, and looking into the whole thing to make sure that there isn't any hidden bias or anything that could be offensive to any student is extremely helpful. As well, media literacy is defined as the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create media. And once again, just being able to look through whatever it is that they're using for media literacy or what they're accessing can really help eliminate that bias and make it so that there's nothing harmful or anything empowering or harmful to their academic success. All right, so racism connected to cultural literacy. Cultural literacy is defined as understanding and interacting effectively with people from different cultural backgrounds, and it is crucial in the whole role of academic advising. It helps advisors appreciate the diverse experiences of students of color, promoting equity and understanding. Integrating integrating cultural literacy into advising is essential for fairness and reducing racism. So here I just have a broad overview of cultural literacy and its its connection to racism. And this quote I have here is cultural literacy involves not only understanding the surface aspects of culture, but also the deeper values and the behavior. So when you are teaching, when you're in an office, when you are an advisor, whatever you may be, it's important that you look not just surface level. We talked about a one size fits all approach. It's important that you have a deeper understanding of everything because sometimes that surface level, the aspects really don't dive deep into everyone's culture, everyone's ethnicity, everyone's life. And it's important to look into that as a person in any role. Here are some advocates and workplaces I believe that really succeed. So, several organizations and institutions are leading the way in promoting diversity with academic advising. The National Academic Advising Association, or NACADA, has been instrumental through its Inclusion and Engagement Committee. The Hispanic Serving Institutions, or the HISs, are making significant strides by adopting cultural responsive advising practices. Additionally, the University of California, Berkeley's Division of Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity is renowned for its comprehensive approach to inclusive advising. And on the next slide, I have images and some infographics regarding, I'm sorry, regarding the some of the stuff we just talked about. So, if we look at this one here, oh, well, apparently it didn't want to zoom in correctly, but if we look at this one over here, this blue one on the right is I'm sorry, is an infographic made by the University of California in its Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion branch of the college. So this one's just a basic safety. It says, what do I do if I experience racism? So get to safety, seek support, report the incident, and then at the bottom they have some support group slash information from the Civil Rights Office. So there's one that states Staff Diversity and Equal Employment Opportunity Compliance Office, the Discrimination Prevention Office, and the Title IX. And that's all information regarding racism and different compliance and safe measures they have in place. At the bottom, there's just an image regarding racism, and there's, you can see it's a empowering image, lots of different races within the picture, but they all are focused on the one thing, which is stopping racism. And then up here is just an overall infographic, I'm sorry, discussing some of the different ways that racism has protruded certain institutions and schools. And this one talks about how certain students got varying grades and varying success rates within their school, but it was based off of the race. All right, and lastly, we're going to be discussing some opportunities to further your learning and understanding on this whole topic. So, to further your understanding, I recommend watching the documentary Teach Us All, as well as reading the article Affirmation, Support, and Advocacy, Critical Race Theory and Academic Advising, and also exploring resources from the Center of Anti-Racism. These resources can provide valuable insights and strategies for addressing any types of racism in and out of the workplace. And when discussing how these resources can be utilized in your professional development, they can help from any way from showing you how to address these topics hands on to how to visualize these topics from happening. So each one of these resources that I found to be very influential to the whole understanding of, you know, racism, critical race theory, all the things that we discussed, and they all touch on the specific aspects of each. So Teach Us All was directed by Sonia Lausman, and it examines the racial inequality in the American education system. The article explores the unique challenges faced by students of color, predominantly at white institutions, and provides practical techniques for advisors to help these students. And the Center for Anti-Racism nonprofit helps provide leadership, research, and resources to help institutions become anti-racist. All right, and then lastly, these are my resources. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation slash workshop on racism and academic advising. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you.